Oops. Okay. All right. Well, I figured out what the problem was. I had to write a new text file and put it in my preferences, uh, which is a fix from 4 years ago that is still applicable. Adobe is Adobeing. What can I say? Okay. All right. What was I doing? Oh, I need to turn back on my thingamajig. There we go. Alrighty. Hello. Good to see ya. How you doing, Blue Dino? Dino? Did you intentionally forget the S? Are you attempting to trigger my dyslexia? Is that what's going on? uh, Good to see you. Yes, we're back. Okay, so yes, behold, pressure sensitivity. It's as good as it gets right there. So this is what it should look like, everyone. I should be able to change it just by scribbling. So we're back and we're in here for the long haul. So let me do a little bit of housekeeping on my feed, just to kind of change some thingamajigs here. After some troubleshooting, we are back. New link. There we go. All right. Cool. It was it was my PS4 name, and I forgot the S on accident, and I've kept it that way. Oh, bless you. That's so wonderful. Okay, so yes, I Crabapple. I'm with you. This is really kind of like the first big moment where I felt like Photoshop really let me down. I mean, other than of course, the generative AI stuff, but it's certainly been interesting. Okay, certainly been an interesting time to attempt to get into digital art making. Boy, I think I might need to actually take this down. I think 600 DPI is too much. I'm going to take this down to 300 DPI just because I think that I could mess with the brush settings, but I don't really want to all that much. I think that's overkill because that's what I used to scan in the micron pen scans for these kinds of things in the past, and I don't think I need to be doing that anymore. I think it will be okay. But now I just need to kind of like get used to using digital tools. That's what I need to do. All right. If you're using the pencil tool, you'll need 600. Well, so these spot illustrations are going to be quite small. So they're really only going to be like a couple inches tall. And not even a couple inches, like not even an inch tall. So I'm not too worried about it. But yes, the better thing to do is it would be to go into the brush settings and set up the brush settings the way that I want them to be. But I'm really tired of looking at settings and I want to get some drawing done, so let's make a bad decision together, huh? Let's get dangerous, as my good friend Darkwing Duck would say. But yes, I fully expect at some point in the near future, JP is going to get to say, "I told you so." Let's see here. Little guys, we're doing little guys. Nick Holmes is saying, I had the same problem occasionally with Clip Studio and Krita 2 pressure sensitivity failure is inescapable. Yeah. It's just one of those things. But it's the price I pay if I want to talk to all of you nice people instead of exclusively talking to my kitty cat while I'm drawing. So I suppose we will just have to deal with it. Lofi has taken a nap upstairs. She's an old lady, and she really takes a lot of naps, which I have too recently, so goals, I guess. Oh, I need to get some music going. My goodness. I had everything all set up, and now I'm all discombobulated. Oh, my goodness. There we go. Oh. There we go. Stick to real pincers. No pressure issues. Reality as the best driver. This is the first bit of digital art I have done for Monstrous. So, big fan of working traditionally. Believe me, I know. I drew a whole graphic novel traditionally. I get it. Ooh, I like those extra like nudules and crudules I added in. That's the thing. I don't like to pencil too tightly because I like to discover things, leave plenty of room for surprise in the inks. You know? Surprise is a big reason that I come to art. Oh, I don't have F keys on this tiny keyboard that I have. I have to figure out my new actions. Okay, how do I reset this? Do I need to use function keys? Can I change this to a different key? I have to use function keys for the actions? There's no way that I can set these to not function keys? That's crazy. Why won't you let me use any other keys? Oh, there must be a way. In the meantime, it's not a big deal. Really, I should say wait to do that until the end anyway. Crudules is essentially what is this? I've got a thingy in the way. Burn mark wrinkles. I don't know. It's just a little bit of extra texture. Ooh, I kind of like that. Kind of like that big flappy. Like you're not really sure that maybe that's like drool or something like that. I don't know. I like it. That's the fun thing about small drawing. Is could be a lot of things. That's probably all the detail it can really get, because it's probably going to be about this big on the actual page. So if I spend all this time doing all this little like hatch work and everything, it's going to be a waste of everyone's time. Mostly mine though. Yes, crabapple. That was kind of what was my my idea on that. Although it's like that's sort of like this sort of like childlike kind of glee of those creatures in that show. It's just like if you had a giant kid, that's how they walk. You know, they're sort of like they're so excited, but their fine motor controls aren't quite up to scratch yet. So that was definitely one of the images that was in my head. And you know, I think, you know, I think with references like that, I'm not as worried about. I don't know. I put a lot of references in my art. What am I kidding? You're gonna a big part of the back end of Monstrous is the sketchbook pages, where I just kind of like pull up all of, well, not all of, but a lot of the old paintings that I'm kind of doing a bunch of references to. I like those thick lines on the outside, so I'm going to do more of that. But yeah, I think references with poses and things like that is sort of better than stealing like actual designs. I mean, heck, let's look. I mean, later on when we get to it later tonight, but like this is from a Bruegel painting, this beekeeper. This is from a Hieronymus Bosch painting. I think this is from a Bruegel paint. So yeah, it's just like, you know, I don't know if it's true that great artists steal, but I certainly do. Let's see. Okay. What is... Oh, yeah, I don't know. I only know how to fix the problem that I was having with pressure sensitivity in Photoshop. I had to go into the app data and make a text file to tell it to use. And it was actually not a problem. It was a problem with Photoshop not recognizing Windows Ink or something, or not activating Windows Ink, and I have no idea how that got shut off. It's very strange. But yeah, so maybe there's a similar kind of problem in your program of choice. Kids are just like the weirdest shapes ever. Especially when they're made of mud and 8 feet tall. Is a really wonderful, I think it's the first, one of the first issues of Hellboy. I think in the Chained Coffin, there's a changeling that has kind of replaced a baby. And you can kind of tell that... there's two kinds of artists when it comes to babies. There are artists that look at babies, and there's artists that don't look at babies, and they go like, I get it. I draw humans all the time. And Mike Mignola had looked at a baby recently, because it's just like a very, very weird baby with like this very like peculiar kind of like lip expression and everything. It's really quite something. I could pull it up, but I want to get some drawing done. Gosh darn it, we've already wasted so much time. Normally I like to take a bunch of field trips and go see other art and everything like that, but let's see what being productive feels like. And then if I hate it, we'll go back to doing field trips. How's that sound? Yeah. Love understanding exactly what something is with reduced detail. Yep, that's what it's all about. You know, cartooning is really like, it's in this really interesting tension between abbreviation, abstraction, and description. And you can find yourself in a really interesting coordinate between all of those things. And I think that's one of the fun. Oh, his big toe would be on this side, so let's make that a little bit bigger. There we go. And then I'll probably just shade that in, that little spot in between, because I don't really want a bunch of little negative shapes drawing your attention away from these beautiful toes I'm drawing. These little piggy wiggies. I would name this guy Bob. Bob or Terry. Yeah, these are all good. In Bosch's case, you can simply say that you took the sand. I'm not convinced that Bosch took drugs. I don't know. I don't take drugs. It's just not the way I like to do it. I've actually been sober for almost 3 years, and it has not impacted my ability to think of weird stuff even a little bit. It has impacted my ability to not be depressed every day of my life. For the positive. But yeah, it's to each their own. But I think there's sort of a lot of assumptions about altered consciousness in art making that I don't necessarily think. There's a wonderful Calvin and Hobbes strip. Bill Watterson's one of my big heroes as an artist. And he has this one strip where Calvin's like, Hobbes, do you believe in the devil? Do you believe in some powerful, malign force that's constantly trying to trick and tempt humanity? And Hobbes says, well, I don't think humanity needs all that much help. And I kind of feel that way about drugs and the imagination. It's like, if I want to think of weird, hellish, psychedelic stuff, I don't know that I need that much help. Just look around you. Just draw what you see. That'll be all the insane, unbelievable stuff you'll ever need. Just the way I sees it. Diomedes, I've been reading a book about Bosch and Bruegel, and so it's like, Bruegel is responding to Hieronymus Bosch, clearly, but also also were Bruegel's children. Like, it was a whole school of people. It's like, you clearly didn't. I mean, they weren't all hopped up on goofballs. People think of things. Maybe I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I have some kind of weird hang up that's keeping me from seeing that point of view, but. Yeah, it looks pretty good. I like this good boy. Should I color this guy, or should I move on to the lines for his buddy first? I feel like he's lonely, so let's do the lines for this guy. Let's do the lines for this guy next. But there's all kinds of theories, but I think, I don't know. There's some stuff, like, I think, if you look at absinthe posters, psychedelic rock posters in the style of Parisian absinthe posters. I think you know, a lot of those artists were probably using. Because if you, there's just there's some images that just come to your mind. There are some patterns that you can predictively see on certain substances, and you see that in like a lot of like Jimi Hendrix posters and album art and that kind of stuff. But I'm just not convinced about Bosch. If that's the other thing, like, you know, if it was a chemical thing, I get the feeling that like and it was a common diet thing, you know, it's like we would have more of that. Instead, what we see is kind of what we see in other places in art, where somebody has an idea and other people pick it up and run with it, as opposed to kind of like a lot of painters from the same area are all drawing people with like spoons coming out their assholes and stuff, giant guitars and whatnot. I could be wrong though. It's just the way I see it. Rodar, oh my goodness, it is good to see you. Are you on? Because I left Twitter, and I feel like that's probably why I haven't seen you in forever. I'm on Blue Sky these days. Are you on Blue Sky? If you are, hit me up. But I know you're kind of like, you're too busy like kicking ass and drawing great stuff to bother around too much with social media. So if that's the case, good on you. But it's good to hear from you, man. I really like, so I went on to the create the audio library for YouTube music, and just picked out a bunch of like chill, jazzy, kind of like bluesy tunes and everything. There's some really good stuff on there. I mean, nothing too distracting. Nothing that's, you know, like blowing my mind or anything like that. But there's a lot of great musicians out there that it's like, I'm sure, I don't know if anybody really aspires to be like, oh, I hope I do a really cool, chill album that people use on their stream. I'm sure it's happening now. But I sure am grateful. Music is really important to the way that I work. I almost always have some kind of noise on. Definitely need to make it. Yeah, come on over to Blue Sky. This little guy looks like he might have broken his arm. He's rubbing it for comfort. Yeah. Yeah, I think I probably need to do something different with his hand. It looks like he's wiping his ass or something. So let's see what we can do here. Let's see what we can do about this. I should probably like put something in his hand, but I think it would be too small. You wouldn't really be able to tell what it was, so we'll just do kind of like a we'll just do like an open hand. Something like this. Something like this. He's got the wrong number of fingers. But that's okay. He's a goblin made out of mud and spit and broken glass. You don't always get the right... It's not a science making goblins, you know? It's more of an art. Besides, it's, I mean, it's, what is the... How many pixels is this anyway? Let's take our ruler, shall we? Where's my ruler tooler? Alright. What is this? This is like... Alright, that doesn't tell me anything. It's like 300 pixels or something like that. I don't know. Started using the ruler, and then I was just like, I don't know how to use this. I don't know what these numbers mean. Yeah, good stand-up bass. Just put you in the mood to make something, you know? Take it for a walk. Yeah. It is the superhero landing, isn't it? He's Iron Man. That's the truth. The truth is, this is Tony Stark's real form. Robert Downing Jr. is just another suit. And inside of that, there's a little goblin made out of broken Coke bottles and fish hooks. But that's just a theory. He is. He's searching. He's searching for his precious. Yes. But yeah, I don't know. Blue Sky still feels weird. It's really like, honestly, I like it. I think it's fine. It reminds me of what Twitter used to be. And it certainly doesn't give me that like constant hit of, I mean, my social media habits just went crazy during the pandemic. I'm sure a lot of people did. We're in this exact same situation. And then everything went downhill on that platform. I mean, it was never great. I'd been on since 2009. And it's always been kind of a mess. Especially if you're not, if you're from a different background, or you are a target of organized harassment campaign or something like that. So I really can't. I shouldn't complain too much. But just because other people had it worse didn't mean it wasn't really unappealing, especially towards the end. My goodness. I just couldn't stand it. And I stayed on it because of the, I thought like, well, you know, we might need this for the, for promotion for the Monstrous Kickstarter. And then about 2% of our overall signups came from that. It was not a big deal at all. I mean, a lot more of it was from YouTube and email signups. It was not coming from. This leg isn't looking right. It was not coming from. So it's just like it's not great for marketing. At least not the way we were using it, not the way I was using it. So I was like, well, if it's not even doing that, then I'm out of here. All right, I'm overthinking this. Like, you zoom out, and none of that, all of that undoing matters anymore, right? That's the thing. It's just like you zoom in, you get really hung up on all these little details. It's important to zoom out every now and again. It's important to zoom out. But, you know, it's just one of those habits I need to get into. It's one of those things I need to learn. Maybe I'll black all that out too. Yeah. There we go. All right. So now that these weirdos are all good. All right, let's Spoon goblin. Maybe I should give one of them a spoon. I think I need to make this guy's eyes a little wider. Oh, yeah. Now he's awake. Now it's a party. He's like, huh? What? Wow. It's the law. You have to make noises when you're drawing. Noises and voices, sound effects, all that stuff. You gotta do it. There we go. There we go. Okay. Let's turn off the pencils. Let's lock the line art layer. Let's make a flats layer. And this will go fast. Because I'm just going to pick this color. And let's see. Anti-alias off. Sampled all layers on. Click. Clickety click. 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 Just in case you can't hear it. Click. Click. I'm narrating it. Click. 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 All right. There we go. Yes, yes. All right. Let's give him some teeth. Let's see what it looks like if we give him just kind of like rotten, kind of gross looking teeth, huh? What if we do that? That needs to be darker. It's not enough contrast. What if we go down to here? Ooh, yeah, there we go. Can barely see him. It's fine. We'll leave it like that. What color should their eyes be? Let's just go with red for now. Alrighty. Yes. Oh, yes. Ooh, yes, I like that. Oh, I like that very much. Although, I think we're just using the line art. I don't think these need to be colored for the trifold. Yeah, we're just using the line art for that. I'll leave these guys colored in for now. But now we can just move on. All right, who do I want to draw? Let's draw this friend right here. Oh, Dom! Hey, how's it going? Good to see you. Still haven't figured out that third dimension, huh? It's just a horrible dad joke. All right. Yeah, Crabapple. This is sort of almost like a bossa nova to it. I like it a lot. Okay. Okay. Do. Yeah, I took this pig from I think it's a Bruegel painting or something like that. So the poor thing has having a rough day. Having a rough day. Got a kitchen knife sticking out of his back. We've all been there. We've all been there. Oh, man. Okay. So after, you know, it was embarrassing earlier on in the stream when I was having trouble getting the pressure sensitivity to work. But I really enjoy inking with this tablet, and I am enjoying spending time with some strangers who exist as text on the internet. Pork chop! It works. It works. I can't believe I didn't see it. This tail is that from a Bruegel painting? That's not how pig's tails look, right? I have to do the... All right. Even if the sketch is more accurate, I need to do like the little curlicue tail, right? Like I can't just miss out on the opportunity for a little curlicue tail, right? Do. It's like, you know, what's the point of drawing if you can't do if you're not going to take every opportunity to do the curlicue tail? Why, they'd had me up in chains, clap me in irons. Is that too much of a tangent? Might be. Could be. I'm tempted to dig into my visual reference and do a closer look at it, but I think that'll do it. Nah, it needs to be cuter than that. Needs to be cuter than that. There we go. Just a little curlicue tail. Oh yes. In Australia, the tail twist goes the other way. How dare you? That is so exactly my sense of humor. I kind of can't believe it. I think I'm gonna let this little friend just kind of keep his eyes shut. There's something about the closed eyelid that's I'm really responding to with this guy. Be just like a little tear. Oh, oh. I was born to suffer. Oh, no. I might be in a weird mood, which is another way of saying that I am drawing. You know, sometimes you find yourself just like following the shapes and following your gut on these things, and you end up drawing some truly strange things. Just to make yourself laugh, you know what I mean? But that's the fun of it. That's what it's all about. Having a completely alienating sense of humor. It makes it look like you're into animal cruelty. That's what it's all about. Dom, if you get this as a tattoo, nobody's ever done that with my work. I've been drawing professionally for a long time, and nobody's ever done that. I don't know how I would feel about it. I think I would like it. I think I would be pretty cool with it. I know I've seen some artists say like don't. They'll like have it in their social media profile, like please don't get a tattoo of my work. And I don't think I understand that. Like I can understand being like weirded out by it a little bit. Like especially if you didn't like grow up around tattoos or something. But I don't understand just like, I don't know, getting into somebody's business. But I think it should. People should listen to. It doesn't seem like too outrageous of a request. Put that other eyelash out there. I think I'm just like naturally kind of like recreating. I think because didn't the Charlotte's Web pig have some pretty intense eyelashes? Charlotte's Web animation. Yes. Oh, yes. I think I accidentally... You know, you just get shape stuck in your head. I think I accidentally like channeled this guy. I think that's where that came from. You just never know. You just never know where those shapes... It's like you're always stealing from somebody, so it's just like... Might as well be honest with it when you know you're doing it. Because it's like, I don't know. Shape's got to come from somewhere. I didn't invent pigs. The Marpy tattoo. So the Marpy is a really interesting situation because like the Marpy is a character that I created fairly early on in the channel's history, and it kind of hasn't been a thing in a long time. So they're like most people who have watched my channel just don't know what the Marpy is. And I want to do something about that. So stay tuned. But I'm staying on task today, so. Staying on task today. All right, I think I actually need to add like a little bit of an elbow in this. A little bit of a joint. There we go. It's a little something like that. I could go in and make sure that this is accurate and all set in place. And it's all like exactly the anatomy and everything like that, but considering how small this is going to be, it's honestly not worth it. Not to me. Mm-mm. So we're just going to wing it. We're just going for it. This is, yeah, Dom, this is really the anti-tattoo tattoo, right? It's sort of like, yeah. The pig is all of us. Nobody likes pain, but we have to. There's no way around it. I have this speech that I give my upperclassmen when I'm teaching graduating seniors, and I play this clip from Rocky 3, where Mr. T's character Clubber Lang is getting interviewed, and they ask him like, Clubber, you got any predictions for the fight? And Clubber Lang looks into the camera. He says, "Predictions? I got predictions. Pain." And I think about that all the time. The only guarantee in life is pain. Whatever you try to do, it's going to be harder than you wish it was. So your only option is not to opt in or out of pain, but to opt into where that pain is going to come from. Is that pain going to come from trying to do something that you want to do, Trying to become something you want to be. Where's that pain going to be? From trying to fit in, fill out somebody else's checklist, you know what I mean? That's my prediction. Pain. Hey, all right. I like that. I think that turned out pretty good. I might come back and tweak it later, but let's keep the good times flowing here. Let's do our good bee friend right here. I like that. Pastel grays. Did you say your meteorologist friend pulled the pain from Clever Lang on you? That's a good one. It's a good friend. Crab apple, no. I don't think we're here just to suffer. I think we are going to probably go through a lot of it. I know I certainly have. But I don't know. I don't know that we're. I don't know that I really believe that we're here for any kind of grand purpose, cosmically speaking. But I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to draw, and I'm going to do my best to take care of the people around me and reflect the love that I have been given. Not because anybody's telling me it's what I'm supposed to do, because that's the way I would like to be treated. That's it. That's the way I see it. Everybody's got their big idea about it, but that's mine. That's mine. So Bruegel had these wonderful. I probably will pull up this one, just because I think it's neat. All right. So I have a folder. A folder called Important Paintings. Oh, the Bruegel one must be on a different one, but so right now all I have is my Bosch paintings on this computer. But I like to get big high-res images of paintings on my computer, so I can look at them lickety-split. But let me just go ahead and Google this real quick. So, Bruegel beekeeper. Here we go. Is there a higher res version than this? Okay, here we go. Here we go. All right. So these guys. This is about the most OSR thing there is, I think. So these beekeepers used to have these beehives that were made out of woven baskets. And they would have these kind of like tightly woven basket face masks that would like keep them from, that was their, instead of netting or tulle or whatever beekeepers actually use these days. They didn't have anything quite so fine as that. So the only thing they could make to cover their faces was these kind of like basket weaving face masks. So I don't imagine they could see and I think there's even like some debate whether this was just like a neat idea that Bruegel had, or if it's based off of something he saw or just whatever. But it's pretty cool, and it's a really creepy image. So that's what that is a reference to. And I think Terry Gilliam says, or at some point in an interview said, like, if you ever run out of ideas for stories, just look at a Bruegel painting. And I tend to agree. So I think he's probably talking about the big ones of crowds and everything like that. But if you think about the if you think about the movies that and the images that that filmmaker kind of put into the world, you can really kind of see. Makes sense. Makes sense. But yeah, when I look at Bruegel and Hieronymus Bosch, I just my head just is swimming with ideas and shapes, and it's just like, oh, I want to draw that. I want to try that out. I wonder what that guy sounds like. You know what I mean? All right. I'm gonna find myself making all these tiny little hatch marks where no one's gonna be able to see it if I'm not careful here. So let's make some shapes and move on. That's about the size of it. So yeah. Before bee netting, yeah, this wicker thing inside their hood. Rodar says, I'd be willing to pay more for honey harvested by beekeepers dressed like that. Yeah. I have this concept for stories. Ask normal questions, assume an insane answer, and come up with a context that makes that answer not insane. Yeah. Yes, Ricardo. Ricardo. I have a program here called PNGTuber Plus that is it causes this thing to bounce. I could actually cause it to have mouth flaps and everything. That green is pretty harsh, so I'm going to take it off the screen there. But you can actually set it up to do all kinds of cool stuff when it detects microphone stuff. Just because I don't really want to have a camera on me, but some kind of focal point I think is nice. I'm gonna cheat. I'm gonna use a lasso tool. This is what you can't do when you're can't do that with Micron. Now I have no idea really, like I think these things were kind of like empty on the inside. I think they were hollow, just like a big empty thing. So but I really don't know, because I think all the ones in that painting kind of look like they have lids on them or something like that. But I don't know if they were like open to the air on the top. So we're just going to do that. And then I'm going to do my best to make it look like a basket. Hope for the best. Let's see. Have we discussed Francois Desprez? No. I'll bet it's pronounced Desprez. He's here. Oh, yes, I've seen this guy. So yeah, there's a whole book of these. And again, it looks like strongly inspired by Hieronymus Bosch and Bruegel. I don't think this person's I really like the nature of the cross hatching. Like, the line work is nice. The construction of the drawings are kind of like a little sloppy. But they're really quite fetching. They're I guess this is, let me see here. Yeah, there's a whole book of these things. And it's from, it looks like it's from like the 1500s or something like that. Very, very strange stuff. But really nice. I actually had, I'd drawn one of those guys specifically, but I'd forgotten the artist's names. So thank you for reminding us, Pastel Gray. Dom, are you making a joke about the Seinfeld movie? I'm surprised no one has mentioned that accursed Seinfeld movie. You're all too polite to do that, though, right? No one bring up that Seinfeld movie. Do 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 boo boo. Yeah. M. Ploon. Yes, a little sloppy but fetching. Yeah. Yes, it's words to live by. I think they have. So the monks or the beekeepers in the image sort of like just have their regular hands out. But I had this idea that maybe they would kind of just like have their like these sleeves that were kind of like tapered off, or not tapered off, but like cinched in at the end or something like that, sewn in at the end, so the bees couldn't get up your sleeves. That's the last place I want bees. Well, one of the last places I want bees. Oh my goodness. So that reminds me of a horrible story that happened to me recently. So it was the day of the eclipse. So earlier this week. And I was getting, I walked over to a chicken restaurant to order some fried chicken. And while I was putting in my order, a spider had been in my pant leg, or climbed up in there, or I don't know how long it had been in there, and bit me on my inner thigh. and I had to like try to play it cool, but as soon as I put in my order, I kind of like did this weird, horrible scuttle over to the bathroom to shake out my pants, because I knew something was in there. This tiny little spider pops out. I had these big welts on my inner thigh for the rest of the day, but it wasn't anything serious. It wasn't like a brown recluse or anything like that, but it's just no superpowers, nothing like that, nothing exciting, just embarrassing myself in front of the young lady taking my order. So that's what I'll always remember from now on. Every time I see an eclipse, I'll think about that time a spider bit me in my inseam. Very rude. Very rude. Yeah. All right, let's zoom out. That's looking good. That's looking good. I know. The spider seemed fine. For the record. The spider came away Basically unscathed as far as I could tell. That's why everybody's showing up to the stream. So for quality stories and zany antics like that. A friend of mine texted me. It was just like, "How did your day go?" And I just unloaded. And it was just like, "So I was getting fried chicken." Minding my own business. Just let it all out. No sympathy from anyone. None. All right. How's this looking? That's nice. It's not the most baskety basket I've ever seen. It'll do, though. It'll do. Now, with all these lines, I just have to be real careful about tangents in here. Alrighty. Sorry, I'm in the zone here. I should really check chat more often, but I'm still getting used to drawing and talking at the same time. When I was 14, Jordan says, when I was 14, a wasp stung me under my glasses and stung me twice in the eyelid. Oh no. Yep. Kappa Kite TV. Hi Kyle, excited to check out the stream. Recently binged all your vids. Inspired me to start drawing again. Oh, that's wonderful. First time in a decade. I am so happy. I started the channel because I was drawing a book of maps called The Old Roads. And I was teaching, I was adjunct professor, or adjunct instructor, sorry, in Indianapolis at the time. And I found that my students kept asking the same questions in lots of different classes. And I was just like, you know what? I'll bet if my students keep asking these questions, there's a bunch of people out there that might want to know this stuff. So I kind of expanded the scope. Instead of being like a kind of like a studio vlog, it turned into kind of some more general tutorials and then all kinds of stuff. And I just, for a while there, I tried to actually sort of take it seriously and do what I thought YouTubers were supposed to do. And it didn't make me happy. So I stopped doing that and just went back to making videos when I had the time and when I had an idea. And I've been much happier ever since. But it's tough because you start seeing those numbers go up and you're like, I have to keep those numbers going up at all costs. It gets in your head. But the truth is, I really like teaching. I don't really have any aspiration to do video production full time. So once I realized that, I was like, well, I need to just calm down and get back in touch with what is making me happy, what is bringing me joy. Can you hear this stylus kind of squeaking around on the screen a little bit? It's kind of got like this rubber to it, and kind of makes some squeaky noises sometimes. I don't love it, but I don't hate it either. I'm sure if I just wasn't pressing so hard, it wouldn't do that. That probably means I'm pressing too hard, but I've always had a really heavy grip with my drawing implements, and I don't need it because I'm not actually pulverizing graphite into substrate. So I should probably just calm down a little bit. That's not bad. All right. Now I need to figure out probably just like a little undershadow like this. Yeah. I like that. That looks nice. All right. Another weird little guy done. There's clicking sound effects. That's probably my keyboard. I hear squeaking, but it's not too loud. Okay, good. Let me see here. Rodar says, if I had been a spider, I'd given you at least one superpower and a bonus bite for one for the eclipse. Yeah, right. It just seems fair. Just seems right. Oh yeah, don't worry, Blue Dino Hour. This will be up. I'll probably delete that first one because we didn't get anything done. Because I was just troubleshooting the pressure sensitivity. Dang, I'm just so impressed with how much this line art looks like my line art, and it's going nice and fast too. I'm beginning to see why most of my colleagues draw this way now. It turns out that not everyone's a moron except for me. It turns out that I'm just scared of change. Who would have thought? Who would have thought? Who could have guessed that nearly the entire creative industry was right? I mean, there's all kinds of great reasons to not draw digitally. But I'm finding there's not as many as I thought, which is really, really cool and exciting. I like working with new media and trying out new things, and I like to think that my art style is defined by the things that I will try and not by the things that I'm afraid to get wrong. So it's kind of fun to think about this as a new thing to give a go. So this guy is kind of like a goat man. I have a feeling I'm putting too many folds in the eyes here. I need to just black some things out. This guy isn't from a painting or anything like that. But he is from a kit bashing project of mine. So sometimes I like to buy cool medieval army men and a bunch of cool. Oh my goodness, there's a race car outside. A bunch of cool farm animal toys, and then I'll glue them together. I'll do cool kit bashing stuff just to find new shapes and have ideas. It's kind of like a sketchbook practice, but with super glue fumes. Once upon a time, I was thinking probably I was going to. I continue to be deeply inspired by the work of YouTubers like The Craftsman and Miscast. Trent from Miscast is one of my creative heroes. So I that's kind of what kind of gave me the idea that I wanted to do videos in the first place. It's like all these cool crafter videos that I was watching, and it kind of got me in the habit of this. I actually did some like sculpting and modeling with green stuff, and that was really fun. But then I was just like, you know what? That's their thing. I'm gonna do drawing and maps and stuff. That's my thing. But it's still a cool side project that I get into every once in a while. I'm not as excited about doing that now that I have a cat, because cat hair gets all over the place, and I don't want like the chemicals to harm my cat and all that kind of stuff. All right, gotta be careful of getting too lost in the weeds right here, but I want the wool to really show up, you know. Oh my goodness, Joe Olsch. Yeah, I actually did some illustration for Turnip 28. So if you look at some of the mission maps for Turnip 28. I did those, or I did the assets for them, and yeah, Max is also another major inspiration for me. Although now that it's no longer a pandemic, and I'm not doing so much modeling, I haven't caught up on what he's doing in a while. But I'm still a patron, so I need to just download what's going on there. But he somewhat controversially in the community has not really like made his work open license, and doesn't really want other people to like make RPGs and make their own turnip games and stuff like that. He's like, no, have your own ideas, which I understand. But it's like, you know, you compare that to like Morkborg and like some of the how the TTRPG space handles it. It seems a little weird, but I guess perhaps it's a bit more normal in wargaming. I don't know. But it did kind of like, it was a little disappointing when I realized that like, oh, I'm not going to be able to do like a Turnip 28 RPG or something like that. But it did kind of make me think like, okay, if I was gonna do a kit bashing RPG, what are the models and shapes out there that I like and could do things with that aren't kind of like those beak nose heads and knights and stuff like that. And that's when I thought about the farm animals. So, you know, sometimes creativity comes from restraints, and so yeah. But I'm a huge fan of that illustration and that creative community. I think it's just so cool. I do paint miniatures. Nick, I don't do it well. I paint miniatures just like I did back when I was in middle school, which is I'll put down a black primer and then a base coat with I'll speed paint, batch paint, several things, just like pick 3 or 4 different colors, go through, put them all down, and then dry brush over the top of that some like off-white, bone white, or a sand, pale sand. Sorry, Dana Howell. I know it's pale sand. I said it wrong the first time. Sorry, Dana. Dana Howell's another great miniatures YouTuber. But yeah, I was just like, it was something where I felt like there were so many like wonderful miniatures YouTubers already that I think if you actually look, I think I have a speed painting and kit bashing video about Turnip 28, where I kind of talk about my process. And it's just around getting stuff done. It's not really for, if you want to learn how to paint well, there's plenty of other places to go. Ooh, I don't like that tangent. It's one of the nice things about being an art professor, is it keeps you honest. This is if you find yourself making the same corrections and crits over and over again, then you remember to check for it yourself. All right, let's see here. Jonah Green says, Mapcrow, howdy. I love your art tutorials. Thank you so much. I really like making them. Kraz Magaz has seen the work that I did in Turnip. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Urchancy says, I've recently been trying to up my miniatures painting game, and while fun, it can also be pretty frustrating. Yeah, but also it's like it's sort of like if you don't zoom in and post it on Instagram, it's like it only needs to, I paint it to table ready. That's what I do. I'm not trying to win the golden demon, and I think that's one of the issues, which, I mean, I'm sure someone could accuse me of doing with some of my art tutorials, because I don't actually make like intro level tutorials, like explaining how to begin being an artist. I oftentimes I'll take, my own professional projects that I'm going to publish, or commissioned work that's going to be published, and then I'll talk about that process, which isn't the most accessible way of doing things. But it's sort of more of like about the creative process, and not necessarily about like how to start drawing. For something like that, JP Couvert is probably a little bit more approachable. And he's I love that guy. He's my dude. But yeah, I think a lot of miniatures paintings channels are kind of especially if you're not going into like a local store and kind of like seeing what people are actually painting. If you're only seeing the cool stuff that's like on Instagram and social media and YouTube and everything, you might think that you're worse than you actually are. Okay. You're the one that's gotten me into my obsession with drawing maps. Oh, that's awesome. It's my favorite hobby now. Oh, that's so nice. I've got a long way to go, but I've gone a long way. Oh, JP's lurking in the chat. I love you, pal. You're my dude. Only judge your minis while holding them at arm's length. Yes, they really only need to look good from the top down if you're using them. But I don't know. I think there's lots of people, especially during the pandemic, that kind of got into miniature painting just for the painting of it, and aren't really necessarily planning on using them for games or whatever. Which is, I mean, that's fine. But I played a lot of 40K back in middle school, and then again a little bit. So I started with 2nd edition 40K back in middle school, and then it switched over from 3rd to 4th when I was in college. But those third edition manuals were really great. But I still like the second edition and Rogue Trader and like some of those early ones. Just like some of the art in that is just some of my favorite stuff ever. John Blanche is a revelation. Holy moly! What an amazing artist. How do I want to do? I kind of wimped out on the sketch for these fingers. So I think I'm just gonna wing it here. And then I'm going to really regret winging it. What is going on with these fingers? All right, maybe I'll just do these kind of like Charles Schultz peanut little nibbin hands. Just so I can stop thinking about it. Maybe if I make the outline big enough, no one will notice that I just totally phoned in these tiny little fingers. They're dainty, these fingers. Roberto says, hello, thank you for always sharing your ideas. Your videos have helped me a lot in thinking outside the box and rekindling my passion for writing, world building, and drawing. Oh, that's wonderful. Rodar says, you're the one who got me into that map obsession too, but you already knew that. Listen, it is that is, if I've done nothing else with my YouTuber platform, that makes me so happy. Because Rodar, you are one of my favorites. Oh my goodness, so excellent. Oh man, I'm not. I promise I won't bug you about that cool bug project, but I'm really looking forward to when that thing comes out. Quite a bit. But I know what it's like. It's just like, it comes out when it comes out. The artist is not in charge of such things. I don't quite know what's happening with his lower arm, his forearm right here. I'm just going to put a couple of hatch marks and forget about it. And then if it bugs me later when I've drawn all of the other lines, then I can come back and fix it. That's what I think. That's what I think I'm going to do. Nothing's ever good when you're an artist. It's only good enough. Especially when it's self-published work. But if you're planning on commissioning me for lots of money, then it is actually very good. I mean, oh shoot, oh no. I'll get a nasty email from one of my clients. You said I was lurking on your stream. You said. I'd be happy to fire a client who actually did that. More than happy to. Yes, I do. I do have a podcast called Splatbook. Actually, I'm recording a new episode tomorrow. John and I are going to talk about. What it's like to order a Kickstarter, get really excited about it, and then 2 years you get it in the mail, and you're not as excited about it anymore. So we're just going to talk about sort of like the emotional journey of backing Kickstarters and things like that. You know, the same thing is true with like humble bundles, and it's a common enough phenomenon. I don't think it's a big deal, but it's sort of like it's I know lots of people are kind of like going through that with various projects that are finally shipping now. And maybe I'll have a different perspective on it as somebody who's like done a couple of Kickstarters, but we'll see. I need to take some notes on that before I don't want to just wing that discussion. Otherwise it'll just be 15 minutes and but we have a really good splat phone for that episode. So that'll be most of it. That'll be good. Glenn, so thank you, Glenn, and thank you for the kind words about the podcast. Yeah, I made that podcast with John because I was like, there's just some things that I wanted to talk about, but I didn't think it would be a good lecture on MapCrow. So I thought, well, I need to find somebody who's going to kind of like not agree with me on everything, but also be just like wonderful to talk to, bring a great perspective, and that's John. You can follow John in your hearts. Jake says, Mr. MapCrow, which is harder to draw, hands or feet? I don't know. Depends on the angle, right? So like, here, this is really easy. This is yep. This is as easy as it gets right here. Right here. That's a hand. Here's a foot. Hope this isn't too TOS. There you go. They're just lines. Don't let them boss you around. I don't know. I've been drawing for like 20 years at this point. So it looks good or it doesn't, but it's sort of like, I don't know. It sort of depends so much, but clearly from the hands you're seeing on the screen right now, I'm sort of the last person to comment on that. I just try not to let it bother me too much, especially when something's going to print at this size. Doesn't really matter what the hands look like. Is there Nick? So I think Nick, I think it's more John. John suggested the topic, so John will kind of explain where he's coming from. But I think there's actually been a couple that have come out that it's just like, oh, this sounded good at the time, but now it's not matching what I care about. Dom says, for this commission, we would like perfection, please. Yes. Rodar would said, I guess feet are harder. It would explain the design of Marpy. Yeah. I have another. So I have this other kind of like weird character that I draw. I think it's actually like an Easter egg in some of the drawings that I do for that I did for Turnip. But I call it the elbow duck. So it's kind of like Marpy, except it not only does it have hands for feet, it also has like hands for its head too, and it has like a little like elbow. So yeah. I love this thing. I need to draw more of my stuff. I need to. So yeah, I have a project that I'm working on that's going to get some of these kookier ideas that don't belong in the serious books for big boys. A little bit later. Who knows? It might not even happen this year, but it's been on my mind. Like I said, I think Marpy needs to be a bigger deal. I think everybody should be when everybody should be looking at Marpy, and when Marpy's not around, everybody should be asking, well, where's Marpy? B guy is out, elbow duck is in. Yeah, that's right. The Church of Doom says, oh, hey, how's it going, Church of Doom? Caught your video the other day. It's good stuff. Church of Doom says, just stumbled across that book the other night. So many amazing NPCs ideas in it. The book is called, what is this? Let me copy and paste this. I want to see this. It might be something that I haven't seen. Let me see. Oh yeah, we were talking about this. Oh, that's the name of the book. Okay, here I'll bring it on the screen right here. I don't want to sign up for the newsletter. So public domain review. So it's the Drolactic Dreams of Pantagruel. Man, Pantagruel. That is a name. Man, if I didn't already pick Mapcrow, I'd probably pick Dreams of Pantagruel. That's a great YouTube name. No, that's not true. I picked Mapcrow because it's easy to spell. So from 1566, and it's got, that is a party. You got the girls out for the party. So yeah, lots of weird stuff happening here. So I drew one of these characters. I drew this character for an earlier VTT token set, and so yeah, I love these guys. Thanks for putting that in the chat. That's great. Elbow Duck is gone. Elbow Duck has left the building. What would Beekeeper's special ability be besides releasing a swarm of bees? Obviously, I forget. Let me check. Let me see if I can check my notes. Beast King Trifold. Let me look it up. What we have of the adventure. So for those that weren't here earlier, these little guys are going to be spot illustrations for art for these trifolds that are going to go out as for the monstrous Kickstarter. So we have two trifold adventures, one with goblins, one with some people trying to steal a monster. So let me see here what we got. Yes. These, okay, so these beekeepers are from the Order of the Sublime Dream. Droning dogma, yellow cloth and wicker, seized by religious fervor. A sect devoted to penance. The order seeks to embrace the pain of divine retribution. They strive to imprison the Beast King in their apiary, harvest its golden blood, and sup upon the poisoned honey of the gods. So yeah, it's sort of like if you imagine the powers of creatures in like Dark Souls Poison Swamp, except it's all cursed honey. That's kind of what we're doing. Yeah, that's some good writing. Some good writing from my good buddy. So Blue Dinoar, so those words were actually written by my dear departed friend Kenny Webb, who I'm not going to dwell on this. I'm not going to answer a lot of questions, but there is a update on the Kickstarter. It's public information, but he passed away recently, and I'm very sad, and I'm very sad that he's gone. But I am glad that we have such good writing to share of his and celebrate the wonderful creative mind that he had. And how he came up with these words, I do not know. It was a talent unlike anyone else that I had ever met, and unlikely to ever meet again. But from my understanding, he got this kind of like cadence of how to name things and what words to use, mostly from Magic cards, from Magic the Gathering. So yeah, then maybe just pay more attention to Magic the Gathering cards. But yeah, so yeah, so I don't want to, we're not going to talk about that subject too much. I'm drawing a firm boundary there, but I see nothing wrong with celebrating the work of a wonderful individual. But yeah, I think about phonoaesthetics a lot, and actually some of the only fights we ever had, so-called fights, as a creative partnership, was in names for things, and it's just like we both had sort of like a different phonoaesthetic leaning. If that makes any sense. So I tend to really kind of care about almost like the meter of things a little bit more, like how they roll around as a rhythm. And he really liked to use obscure and esoteric sounding words. And I kind of tended to want to combine like really simple words. But he really liked his thesaurus. But it didn't slow him down. Like whenever I open up a thesaurus, I know I'm wasting time. But it did not slow him down. He was a very productive writer. He was very disciplined and professional about it. But yeah, as to how to write as good as Kenny Webb did, golly, if I knew, I'd sell it in bottles. I'd sell it in bottles and become a millionaire. I'd put generative AI out of work. All the venture capitalists would be talking about how to get the good MapCrow bottles. I don't think this pole arm... Okay. I think this pole arm is a little overworked. I think it could use fewer lines. I used to be, well, and on personal projects, I tend to overhatch things, just kind of overwork them. But the truth is, you're never getting paid by the line. Writers, they'll get paid by the word sometimes. Artists never get paid by the line, so you may as well figure out how to do with fewer of them. Make your life a whole lot easier. You're also never paid for the lines you erase. You're never paid for the lines that you undo, right? That's the secret. Just draw it the way you wanted it the first time. My goodness, wouldn't that be easy? Wouldn't that be easier? Yes, sir. What's this? Nothing I need to pay attention to. What else is going on here? I'm going to go fill up my glass of water, and I will be right back in just like 30 seconds. Talk amongst yourselves, and I'll catch up on chat when I get back. Oof. All right. Man, everybody, all the other drawing I was doing today was going so fast, but I think this goat is the most detailed thing I've done so far. I seem to be slowing down. I guess I've only been doing this for like, let's see here. What do we actually have to show for ourselves? We've been drawing and talking for an hour and 40 minutes. We have about 5 guys drawn. That's not terrible, I guess. But I'm having fun, so it's not a particular rush. Not particularly. Oh, I hate that. I hate that. Oh, this is going to drive me nuts. Let's do it this way. Let's do it this way. I think when I reset something, my stylus buttons got reassigned, and I want to turn them off. Let's see here. How do I turn off my keys here? None. None. Yet they still seem to be activated. Oh well. I'll look into it later. It's not a thing. I just want to use the tip. I don't want to use these buttons right now. Actually need to get one of these foam things that everybody asks about on my videos for. That would probably sort it out. But I don't feel like getting up right now. All right, what do we got here? Too many swords in fantasy. Not enough bill hooks, bardaches, and Godendacks. Hey, you watch your language, Rodar. This is a family show. Sorry, it just sounds like some of those things sound very funny to me. The Fortress Dragon idea was so sick. Thank you. Appreciate that. That was a really fun one. The floppy ears is the core dragon illustration. The Fortress Dragon illustration is like the video after that, and it's a black and white illustration. I really like how it turned out. Yeah, the floppy eared dragon doesn't actually have a name. It's just a dragon. S'il vous plaît, forgive my French. No. It's I gotta steal some of those names. Those would be great names for some characters on a project I'm working on right now. Just the names of those pole arms. I mean, I'm sure the pole arm nerds would be out and they'd be like, "What? You can't." I know what that means. But anime names are all, like, some of them are guts. Like, come on. It's not a great name, but it works, you know? So it's easy to overthink names. That's the real lesson. So if you like how it rolls around on your tongue, figure out a way to give somebody that as a name. That's what I think. That's what I think. Kraz Magaz says, do you have an Instagram or a blog where I can see some less curated stuff like your Kit Bash Sheep Nights? No, not really. I don't really like social media all that much. I should be putting that stuff on my Patreon, to be honest, but it's just like, I don't know. With everything else I have to do, it's like remembering to also document like my personal time. And that's not how you meant it. Sorry, I put so much mustard on that, but it's normal, and it would be in fact very professional of me to do that kind of thing. But I don't know. I like to keep that a little bit separated. It's exhausting to try to figure out how to turn everything into content, you know? So sometimes it's good just to have those little things that are just for the old Kylester. Never forget the Dragon Ball characters were named after produce. Yeah, exactly, right? People are still having very heated debates about characters named Piccolo and Vegeta. So I think it's really about the energy you put into it than it is about the actual quality of the names. Rest in peace, Toriyama. Had an enormous impact. Probably the work of his that had the biggest impact on me. I have a great fondness for Dragon Ball Z. And actually, my first RPG I ever played was the Dragon Ball Z RPG by R. Talsorian. Written by Mike Pondsmith. Same guy who did Cyberpunk. And but it was Chrono Trigger, this old Super Nintendo game. When I played that, it blew my mind. It blew my mind. It blew my ever-loving gourd. So many great designs, just like such an epic scope for a story. I understand it was like hell for the developers to work on. Which is sad. But I, for one, was very, very. That was such a huge part of my imagination when I was young. I don't think it is a huge part of what I think about now. I don't think it continues to be. I think probably of the stuff from that time, Final Fantasy VI is kind of like the one that really sticks with me as the thing that sort of like continues to get me going, get me thinking about things, because there's just like so many more images that are combined in Final Fantasy, but it's not nearly as like coherent as Chrono Trigger was, for as many weird ideas that were in there. Partly because of Toriyama's art style, like it all felt like it belonged together and it all made sense, you know? Good stuff. Good stuff. Let me see here. Nick Holmes, have you watched or read Free Ren? The names are super simple, but just in German. Yeah, yeah. I watched a couple episodes of Free Ren, and it made me cry while I was trying to do the dishes, and I haven't come back. I think I'm a little tender-hearted for that show, but I do want to get back to it when I'm feeling ready for it. Because dang, it's some powerful stuff. It's a wonderful point of view. Kind of does what fantasy really does well, and not just action, but just like perspective, point of view. Really, really powerful stuff. Dragon Ball is actually something I've never actually seen. Is it worth watching, or is it more of a nostalgia thing? I don't know. It's up to you. I couldn't tell you. It's nostalgic for me. I wouldn't exactly recommend it. I will recommend Dragon Ball. I don't know that Z holds up, but like as a cartoonist, Dragon Ball and the drawing in early Dragon Ball Z from sort of the Saiyan saga is what it's called, the beginning. I really like that drawing of his at that time. But as a story, as a writing thing, I don't know that it really suits what I'm looking for to think about too closely. But from an artist standpoint, golly gosh gee, if I could understand shapes as intuitively as that man seemed to, I would be, well, I guess I'd be a millionaire or a trillionaire or whatever he was. I think he was quite well off at the end. I hope he was. My goodness. Let's see here. Related to games but unrelated to Kentucky Route Zero is on sale right now. Ah, yes. So yeah, I guess if I close this, this is a scene from Act 3 of Kentucky Route Zero. It's sorry, it's not really a spoiler, but when you see this will haunt you for the rest of your days. It's an absolutely incredible game. You can get it on Steam, but you can also get it on itch.io. Is it on sale on itch? Or am I wasting everyone's time? It is not on sale on itch currently. But I can still bring the page over here. Take a look at it. But yeah, it's just astonishing what this does with shapes, what this does with low poly, what it does with value scale, what it does with staging. I think every artist should play this game. I think everyone should play this game. It's one of the reasons I had like a firm foundation to study games as art in grad school, because it's kind of like it's made by a bunch of MFA people. So it's sort of like it's sort of accepted in fine arts spaces because there's it's already been in museums and things like that. So it kind of created this precedent that I could shoehorn in the other game stuff that I wanted to talk about in my thesis papers and things like that. Even though I was studying tabletop RPGs, it kind of like opened the conversation. But what it does for games, it does super well, and I love it. And I think it sounds like there's a lot worse things you could spend $7.49 on over on Steam. So I don't have an affiliate link. I just affiliate with good taste. All right, I'm overworking this. So yeah, he's got a little snake tail, in case that wasn't clear. I might make some different decisions about that later, but let's move on. All right, what else do I want to draw? I want to draw this guy right here. He's having a day. Ugh, I need to rest my hands for a second. Let's catch up on this. Speaking of incredible, haunting narrative games, have you played Disco Elysium? I have played Disco Elysium. I am quite impressed with what they were doing, but I found it somewhat difficult to kind of like really root for the main character in the same way. It's like because he's kind of like he's in a bad spot, and it reminds me closely of some spots I've been in my life. So I think maybe it just cuts a little close to the bone. But yeah, I know a ton of people just absolutely adore that game, and I think the praise is well deserved. Jacob's asking, what are your thoughts on Zelda Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom? I think Breath of the Wild is a revelation in game design, and more people should be thinking about its lessons about how to communicate priority of goal setting and player authorship in open world environments in a way that I think probably Elden Ring is the only other game that I've seen like really follow the example of Breath of the Wild. Tears of the Kingdom is a wonderful game, but I don't think it's going to be as it wasn't the same kind of revelation, so it kind of suffers from comparison a little bit. It's really neat, and it goes all in on player authorship and perhaps a bit too much. But it really, what I will respect the heck out of that development team is for taking all that criticism about item durability and then just going like, okay, we'll make the whole game about that. If people don't like it, we will just make it matter more. And I think that was really smart, but it's sort of like, I don't know. As a design nerd, I appreciate it. I think which one am I more likely to play again? I think I'm probably most likely to play Tears of the Kingdom again. I don't know. That's a great question. But I think overall Breath of the Wild is going to be remembered as having a bigger impact on the industry. When you see a choir of frogs in the description, you know it's going to be a good. What is? Oh, yes. Have you played Detention? No, I haven't played that game. It's sort of a little bit on the horror end of things for my tastes. But I've watched some stuff about it. Ganon is way cooler in Tears. I disagree, JP. I think Ganon was way more interesting when he was a force of nature and a cyborg and a giant boar. I became increasingly less interested with him the more I found out about him. But yeah, Detention is a really wonderful game, and like that developer is really really strong, but kind of tends to make things a little too spooky for me to play. But I've there's actually a wonderful video game podcast that I listen to from Hardcore Gaming 101. They have a podcast called Top 47,000 Games, and I like that quite a bit. It's one of my favorite video gaming podcasts, and they had a really wonderful episode all about Detention. Outer Wilds. I tried to play it, but I had to, at the time on my computer, I had to turn the graphic settings all the way down. So I don't think I really got the experience. But now that I have a nicer machine, I need to give it another shot. But I know it's one of those games that you kind of like, you need your Post-it notes and sketchbook, and you got to pay attention. It's like one of those things that's kind of based around like the big thing about the time loop is like you're supposed to really be paying attention and learning things and experimenting. And I think I ran into a couple of dead ends, and I just like It's like, oh, the graphics don't look great, and I ran into too many dead ends, and I feel like a moron. So, Krasmagrass says, this person that you're drawing... Yeah, who cares about Ganon when you have Sidon? This person that you're drawing reminds me of that Mordheim event. So this is actually, I think I have the... Let's see here. I think I actually have this painting on this computer. Where is it? Where is it? That might be another Bruegel painting. My goodness. Shows what I know. But yeah, it's kind of like this guy who's running across a hellish wasteland, kind of like looting the bodies of the dead. So he's got like all these like pots and pans and baskets and helmets and swords and everything. So yeah, it definitely feels like something John Blanche would draw. But yeah, I think there's a lot of Bruegel and Bosch energy in John Blanche. It's one of the reasons I like it so much. Now I want to find it. Bruegel Judgment. Let's see. Let me see if I can... Here it is. All right. It's this guy right here in the middle. That's the guy we're drawing. I gave him a broken sword just to kind of like keep the silhouette a little bit more compact. But this is a piece called The Final Judgment, I think. But yeah, what an amazing piece. I wish I could find a high-res image of it really quickly, but well, maybe I will. maybe I will. Maybe I will. Ooh, here we go. Now we're talking. Now we're talking. Okay. Copy. New. Clipboard. Paste. Here we go. Now we can really see all the stuff in the background. That's I'm gonna get the stream shut down if I linger on that guy for too long. But yeah, so this is almost certainly a looter in the middle of Armageddon. This kind of like central figure right here as the world is literally going to hell. He's kind of like walking across the battlefield. You can see in his basket he's got like, you know, a cup with rings and jewelry and coins and plates and a treasure box under his arm and like a locket and a silver thing, and he's picking up this hastily putting on this breastplate and this helmet. As he's just trying to grab anything that he thinks might be valuable or useful. There's this pot that's sticking out of a jug back here. He's got there's a big frog in the background going like, "Hey, that guy's stealing all my stuff. Go get him!" So yeah, it's a fairly busy thing. It's a fairly busy composition, but. And then he has a little knife that's kind of like dangling off the side right here. But and then in his other hand right here, ooh, look, I think that's a beehive. It's a beehive with wings on top of a fish. And there's somebody inside of the beehive. I might have to draw that guy. I love this thing. Just like a guy inside of a hive that like has big. He's like become so one with the beehive that they gave him these giant wings to fly around with. Holy moly, I love it. But you can kind of tell that this. I don't know. I don't. Art historians and restorers might put the lie to this, but it kind of looks like this sword was almost like a second thought. Hey, this guy only has 3 fingers. No, he has another finger right there. But you could kind of see how like he was drawing in the background, and then he started, he was kind of working background to foreground. And then so you can kind of see a little bit of translucence behind this, but it might mean that the sword was sort of like a late addition. Like he didn't really have that. There's probably some sketches or something like that, but the first dungeon looter ever. Exactly. One of these days you'll have to do a whole series of recreating Bosch dudes. I would love to do that. There is a. So this is Bruegel, just to be clear, but you're right. I mean, the intent is well put. I mean, they're both from the Netherlands or Holland or however you want to say it. But yeah, I really think there's a lot to do here, and I think it would give a strong flavor to like an OSR zine or something like that, to do a game that's like just like based on these visuals. I think it would be really cool. And even just like this painting, right? So one of the reasons actually that I made the agnostic TTRPG prep method was because I thought it would be great to just like open up a painting or a book of paintings like this and just base your whole evening of plans off of it, and just like pull 3 scenes and ideas and monsters from this, and you have a one shot easy, right? Everybody talks about Berserk, right? Which it's a great work and everything like that, but people were thinking about the end times and the eclipse and all that kind of stuff for centuries and centuries. And I think really, if I had to guess, owes a lot to Berserk owes a lot to these kinds of paintings. But oftentimes you can find. Oh, look at this! Oh, look at this! We have like a boat that's escaping with some people on it, and then like some. There's a big spooky guy and an alligator that's chasing people away. Just like this is the last chopper out of Saigon or whatever it is, right? Oh my goodness, it's just what an incredible piece. I actually went and I saw a Hieronymus Bosch painting in Ireland once. It was at the National Gallery in Dublin. And I almost got kicked out of the museum for getting too close to it, and just like getting all my gamer breath all over it. But it's just like you can see like each little stroke of paint added to this like adds sinew and texture and volume and definition to it, but also like the lack of detail is also very tantalizing as well. Yeah, I love the platypus frog behind the beehive too. Yeah, there's just so many great things. Here's a spider drawn entirely from memory. Here's Yoda. Oh, cannot get your ship out. He's talking to them. He's oh no. All right, that's enough. Oh my goodness. I want to look at this forever. And sometimes, like, you know, it's so old you can't tell if like these specks of dust or these highlights, reflections from the, it's like, are those details or are those errors in the transcription? It's just so good. You got something in your nose there, buddy. You got a little owl. Oh my goodness. I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of seriousness in this. You know, this is, I think, a very earnestly done piece. It's sort of like a warning, but also I think there's definitely a sense of humor in it as well. Like there has to be, right? Oh man. What a visionary. This guy. Oh man, I've been there, dude. uh, the lore is easy. The lore is written. It's just called the Old Testament. You know, that's done. All you have to do is look up the Bible. It's all been done. The world Bible is just the world's Bible. Oh, look at this guy. Oh my goodness. This is interesting because it looks like he probably had some kind of like actual frog skeleton or something. This looks strongly referenced in a way that like the spider just doesn't. Same thing with the fish. Like, you know, it'd be easy for him to like walk down to the market and like pick up a fish, like you know, and do some sketches. So you can kind of learn a lot about what the artist like had access to. Hey, buddy, how's it going? Oh boy. All right, I'm having too much fun. I gotta get back to work. Maybe we can have some more Bosch later as a treat. Oh, sorry, Bruegel. My goodness. Here goes all my credibility. Alice in Wonderland vibes, yeah. Topsy-turvy. All the actually cool stuff they don't tell you in mass. Yeah. Yep. All right. So let's see if we can draw this weirdo here. Let's see if we can draw this weirdo. Give him a little point, then put a little dent into his hat. Something like that. I don't think maybe the cheekbone's going to go out here. He's seen some stuff. We got to give him those under eye bags. But yeah, I mean, I'm not going to pull up the guy in the. I'm not going to pull up the. Because I care about. I sketched it the way that I wanted it to. I'm not going to sweat the details too much in the. Because it's not really about accuracy. Like the sketch is what I wanted to take from the painting. So I'm not really going to bother double checking. We got the gist of it. And it's going to be too busy anyway. So I'm probably like, even this is sort of like too much. So I'm going to have to tone it down a bit. cut some details. There's sort of like already a novel that's kind of like this called Between Two Fires. I tried reading it. It was kind of getting recommended through the OSR circles, and I can see why, but I could barely root for the people in that story. I maybe it gets better later, but I thought like this is a little too dark subject matter for me. And maybe I noped out too quickly, but just wasn't quite my cup of tea. But I felt like the imagery from that felt very in line with this kind of stuff, and I think it's actually pretty accurate at like capturing the vibes of that particular painting. It doesn't quite, well, at least when I stopped reading it, hadn't quite reached that fever pitch, but it was like, oh, it was just like one little chapter away from it. That kind of just medieval end of the world anguish. Like, how do you survive something that bonkers? I'm already getting lost in the details here. I need to be careful, right? This is 1 pixel. This is 1 pixel, Kyle. Nobody's gonna see this. Nobody's gonna see that. Make it part of the silhouette. Make it stand out with some line weight, or get rid of it. Use what you need and leave the rest. I also got an owl in the nose once. Worst week of my life. I'll bet. Yeah, every time you zoom in, there's like 10 more things. Yep. That's why I got in trouble at the museum. They thought I was going to like wipe my nose on it or something. What you doing there, buckhole? Back off. It's not a handkerchief. Because it was in Ireland. That's why I did the voice. It's in Ireland. Although I don't think anybody actually said anything to me from my memory. Is somebody just kind of gave me a very stern look and like went from arms folded to like at the ready. Like they're going to have to physically intercede and keep me from ruining this priceless painting. It's actually one of the nice things about the Wiki Commons is you can get closer and you can see more details than you can even in person. Probably not as great if you're trying to learn how to do oil painting, but it's great for just looking for details and having a very close, slow relationship. It's actually something I want to do more on stream, that I haven't had the guts. It's just like, hey, let's schedule a time and just look at paintings and talk about paintings and look at one painting for an hour. That's what I really want to do. Drawing's hard. Let's look at something for an hour instead of drawing. The stream has gotten me in the mood to draw. Yeah. Heck yeah. Captain Comet, good to see you. Between two fires. Sounds like my resume. Do I need to alert the authorities? This sounds like you're an arsonist. You working on anything right now? Nah, I'm sort of between two fires at the moment. It's good to see you, Captain Comet. I'm positive people would love that stream. I don't know. I hope so. I want to make it a thing. Like, I want to make it an event that people can kind of, like, clear off some time for, as opposed to sort of like this sort of more like, hey, when I have time, I'll see who wants to sit around and talk to me while I draw, which I like a lot. I'm enjoying this quite a bit. But if it's going to be something like that, I want to make sure that people get... I almost wish, if I had the time, like I would do almost like a book club for it. And say, hey, here's the painting we're going to talk about. Look at it for 20 minutes. And then come to the stream at this time. Don't read anything about it. Don't watch any videos about it. Don't think any thoughts. Just write down 10 things you noticed about it. Don't get anyone else's opinion on it until you have a chance to, like, share what you thought. Share how it made you feel. That's what art's all about. Are these lines getting too small? That's what I thought. It's like, why are all these little dots showing up? It's because my brush is too small. That's why. It's a nice song. Started watching your TTRPG videos recently, and I have to say, let me see, I can't read that. There's a thing in the way. The rest of your stuff is incredibly inspiring. Keep up the good work. Thank you so much. Let's see. 2D Tesseract says, one topic I don't see covered in fantasy world building all that much is world currency, so that would be fun. I don't know. Unless your game is about currency and buying things and markets, at least for TTRPGs. I'm sure there's a lot to be said. I am sort of a curmudgeonly anti-world builder, personally. I think, if you're designing a game, you should design that, and not a world. You can't play a world. And if you're writing a novel, you should write your characters. You should write things that happen in sequence so that you can learn something about what the character is made of and what happens when they don't get what they want. What are they willing to do to get it? but I'm a boring old formalist. And I think world building is fun, world building is neat, but it is sort of runs the risk of stealing the time away from the thing that you might be making. But that's just the way I see it. Does Photoshop let you open secondary views of your canvas? We could stick a zoomed out version of your monitor somewhere to double check a tiny little... I guess I could. I don't know. There might be some kind of plug-in for it. But really, it's just like, it's as simple as just zooming out every once in a while. That's something I'll tell my students frequently when they're working digitally, like in Procreate or something like that. It's just like, okay, zoom all the way out, and then take 2 steps back and tell me if you're spending too much time drawing these 2 pixels over and over again. And the answer is yes. Stop doing that. Draw the rest of it. Yeah, I'm sure there's a way to do it. I know Sprite kind of has like a zoom window like that. That's a program I use occasionally, but for the time being, rather than looking how to do things the right way, I'm just going to kind of keep plowing ahead. But probably a good thing to figure out if I plan on continuing to do more digital work. And I do. And I do. Monster Garden recently made a video on currency. Yeah, Monster Garden is a really, he's an incredible artist. It'll be interesting to see what comes of all of that. But he is a world builder. I don't know that he has any immediate plans to work on. I don't know if he's working on a video game. I don't know if he's working on a tabletop RPG, and I don't think he really thinks about it that way. I think he's like, well, this is sort of like, you know, I've watched a few of his videos and I really enjoy it, but yeah, I'm like, what is this for? Is this for the joy of it, or is this for... I was watching another YouTuber. I'm going to get in trouble if I'm not careful. Talk about world building and like, oh, this is good for world building. And, you know, here's you can kind of do it this way or you can do it this way. And I'm like, who are you? What have you done besides make YouTube videos? Why would I... What point of view, to what end is any of this vice doing? What is this helping somebody understand? From what point of view? And it just seems like there's a lot of people that do world building that enjoy that as a hobby in and of itself. In which case, go for it. But if you want to turn it into something, you might want to figure out what your design constraints are first. But like I said, that's just the way I sees it. You might seize it in different ways. That's the way I sees it. Do what brings you joy. Don't let some curmudgeon looking at old paintings, finally trying out digital drawing for the first time in the year 2024, say anything to upset you or make you do anything differently in your life. Don't let that happen. Ain't worth it. But it's my stream and I'll say what I want. Dad darn it. I keep moving my shoulder and I need to be moving the screen. Is this knife... I like it. I'm going to leave it there. I was going to think, is that too much detail? Is that too fiddly? Is that going to make any sense? I'm going to leave it in. All right, I should check chat to see if I've insulted all the world builders out there. Oh, good. You're all still here. World building can be a trip for a lot of people. It seems to be been world building a series of novels for 5+ years. Heck yeah. Well, I hope you are having fun. I hope that is bringing you delight, and I hope it is making you curious about the world. That's one of the greatest things about world building. That's the one thing I'll say it. But something I talk about with my students when we talk about world building is it's not really a term that existed before this current century. It really wasn't used very often. Do I want this extra box out here? I think that's just going to be confusing. I'm going to leave that out. But it wasn't until the Peter Jackson Lord of the Rings movie came out that people started using that word in the way that people use it today. Because the direct, not the direct to DVD, my goodness, the DVD extras would talk about all of the production that Weta Workshop was doing on those movies to make them look realistic and compelling, and all this kind of is, it's really excellent design work from some wonderful artists and filmmakers and all this kind of stuff. They use the word world. They used that term a lot, and then everybody else started using it because it was a marketable thing. It's just like, oh, Lord of the Rings made more money than any other movie in the last, X number of years. So we have to do everything they did. But people, when the Lord of the Rings books came out, people would not talk about the world building in those books. They wouldn't use that term. When Dune was being published, people didn't talk about the world building. They didn't use that term. It wasn't a thing. That was a term that kind of like came into prominence to describe a specific workflow. A specific commercial result. And now there actually are jobs for that kind of thing, because you need to make a world consistent to exist as a property across transmedia projects. So like, you want the world of Star Wars to seem consistent, whenever kind of whoever buys the license for the next video game, it's all got to be coming from the same place. So it's actually a thing that people do now, but it was sort of it's if you're not working at a big company, then I think what you're doing is you might be a better name for it. I don't know, but it's clear people are really have gone to the term. People enjoy it quite a bit. Whatever it is that they're calling it, regardless of what I think of the use of that term. And like I said, far be it for me to tell anybody what they should or shouldn't do to bring them the results and the joy that they want in their life. I like world building for the purpose of actually learning things. Though through building my own worlds, I learn how ecosystems work and how mountains and absolutely. I think that's a lot of fun too. I think that's great. Something I was doing to prepare for a mapping project that should be kicking off relatively soon is, that guy turned out pretty good. Not bad at all. You know what I should do is actually flip this image horizontally. Yeah, it looks good. I don't know. I know sometimes it makes a big difference, but I rarely bother. I'm getting ready for a big mapping project, and I'm trying to learn as much as I can about geopolitics, and trying to learn as much as I can about geopolitics and where mountains come from. and fault lines and continental drift. I found out the cursed knowledge that Spain at some point detached from Europe and then spun around 180 degrees and then slammed back into the edge of France like millions over the course of millions of years. Oh my goodness. It's just it's like all of these really odd shapes, like Scotland. The top of Scotland and the bottom of Scotland used to be like two on two different continents, and and that's why there's a big like line running through the middle of it, is because it's almost like a straight line here. Let's look it up. Scotland map. Topographic map. So if you look right here, there's a big straight line that goes through the middle of it, and it's because this part of Scotland used to be on a completely different part of the globe. And it became pretty clear to me that like nothing I could think of was going to be as imaginative or interesting as anything that happened in real life. But it's also like almost unbelievable when you learn anything about continental drift. It's like so bizarre and strange that it actually like wouldn't make any sense to try to emulate it in a project either. So for a TTRPG map making project. So it's just like, well, this is really interesting. I'm glad I know about it, but I don't think that this is useful for what I need it for. Why? I don't at all. So people should find more ways to be curious about the world. All right, let's draw this old Templar here. Let's draw this old knight next. Well, actually, what do I think? I don't know. I might be done. I've been drawing for 2.5 hours. That seems like a pretty good amount of time to do this kind of thing. Yeah. I think really what I need to do is go get my my foam grips next time I do this, so I can draw for a little bit longer. But drawing for longer than 2.5 hours without taking a break and stretching is a bad idea. Scribble Scrabble, Magister Mapcrow. Just about to head out to DM a Warhammer role-playing game. Glad I could catch the stream for some last ideas before I head out. Yeah, if you're doing Warhammer Fantasy roleplay, yeah, look at Bruegel paintings. It's great. It's a great place to get inspired. Have a good game. Jordan says, Earth Explained is run by a science teacher, and I found her to be really easy to understand when I first started seriously taking weather and plate tectonics into account with my world building. Yeah, right on, Jordan. That's really cool. Everybody's remembering the last time. So this is last time I was streaming, I mentioned that it was once upon a time in some part of the world. If you had your Masters of Fine Arts, you were, and you are currently teaching, you would be called not professor, not doctor, but magister. So I once had a fun time explaining that to two people who had their master's degrees, but were not teaching, and so they weren't technically magisters, so I got to kind of lord it over them like the big weirdo that I was. WK, thank you for popping in. It was wonderful to talk. Yeah, it's more weird little dudes on the way. Rodar says, thank you for this live, Kyle. It was very relaxing, inspiring as always. Wonderful. Me, yes, I like this. I got about over half of the stuff done in 2.5 hours. That's not bad. I'm not gonna turn that down. Like I said, I'm not. We don't actually have the. I need to erase that. That's bothering me. There we go. Yeah, this was really productive time. Do more of this in the future. Imagine being the magister of dance back in the day. Yeah, right? Blue Dino Hour, thank you so much for showing up. That was great. Oh, heck yeah. Yeah, enjoy the podcast. Yeah, sorry, Ollie. I will probably do this again. Maybe even tomorrow night. Who knows? We'll see. I have a busy day tomorrow, but I want to do this more often. Can you say the old roads thing again? Sure. What was it? So until next time, my friends, I'll see you on the old roads. Farewell.